No, it's kind of like the great worthy of every song we could ever sing, worthy of every praise we could ever bring, worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you.
Hallelujah.
Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save.
Hallelujah.
Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you.
Hallelujah.
We live for you.
Hallelujah.
Holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes and wonder and show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in love to those around me.
Hallelujah.
Worship the Father. You are worthy, Lord.
Worthy of every song we could ever sing, worthy of all the praise we could ever bring, worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. We live for you. Holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. Holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. Oh, we thank you, Jesus. Oh, we thank you, Father. And I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation, and I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken, and I will build my life upon your love. It your love to those around me. Holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. And I will build my life upon your love. It is the firm foundation, and I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken. Oh, we thank you, Jesus. And I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation, and I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken. I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation, and I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken.
Hallelujah.
What in the world am I supposed to be doing? But sometimes the things that happen in our world, things that are going on, and obviously prevalence right now is COVID, right? COVID-19 and everything's taking place in that. I know we're probably to the point of let's stop talking about it. But I'm sorry, I can't because it's so ridiculous, right? If you look at the population of Mexico, there's 2.1 million people in New Mexico, right? There's lots of cities that have more than 2 million people in them. But when you look at the actual data, 40,000 people have been tested, not confirmed, that means tested. They've gone in and taken the test, they've done that, right? Then that means 38,000 of those people, not 40, 38,000 of those people have been confirmed negative. It means they don't have COVID, they don't test for COVID, they don't have any of that stuff. That's a large number. Then out of that, 2,000 of those people have been confirmed to actually have it. Right? Now, I'm not going to throw in all the other ridiculous numbers of the flu and all this other stuff, right? And compare those, okay? But what I'm getting at is the power of what media can do, of what our minds can do, that affects how we operate. 65 people in New Mexico have died of it. Now, when you really start to look at these numbers, they get even more ridiculous. Because when you look at that, okay, 2.1 million people, 2,000 people have been confirmed as negative. That means they got it, they've recovered, they haven't died because only 65 of those have. That's like 0.0001%.
Yeah.
And then the ones that have died is like 0.00000%. But we're freaking out. Why are they freaking out? Something I said weeks ago. We have a God problem. We have to trust our Lord. He has a plan. He has an understanding of where we're trying to go, what we're trying to do in all of our lives. So trust it. Realize where we are today. Realize what we're trying to get through. Which one's number one? Right there. Right? So guys, just know what we are. So as we look at today's stuff and as we continue on this, what am I supposed to be doing? Well, people talk about this all the time. People go to college and they get a degree. But when you go into college and get a degree, you go there and you say, okay, I'm going to be an engineer. Well, then that changes 3 or 4 times. Right? Did you get that stuff? Yeah. as we go through it, me myself, I went and said, hey, I'm going to be a pharmacist. Well, I married one, right? But that doesn't mean that's what I'm going to end up doing. Well, then I said, okay, I want to go into and I want to be a dentist. So I started focusing on being a dentist, right? Well, if you want to become a dentist, that takes work. And I wanted to have fun in college. I wanted to be in a fraternity. I wanted to play. I wanted to be an athlete. I wanted to do all these things that don't necessarily align with the discipline of what it takes to go there. So then I ended up getting 2 degrees, right? Not just one, I got 2 degrees. And then from there, I still didn't know what I wanted to do. So I started to coach, I started to teach, and I wanted to make money, and I wanted to do all these things that don't necessarily align to what I wanted to do. But there was a process that God knew that I needed to work through my whole life to get where I am today. So we work through this stuff, and we've got to trust what He does. You know, as we work through this, we understand that our text scripture from the very beginning of this has been Jeremiah 29, right? And as we look at it, Jeremiah 29, right, as we see here, is going to say what? What does it say? It says right here, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." Amen. Hope and a future. Hope starts here. What we think about, what we talk about, what we believe in. Because, like I started this with COVID, one person can take every bit of hope away. Think about that individual that just started their business, started to drive, started to do certain things, and he said, you're no longer essential, so you have to stop your business. And now that's not going to reopen ever again. And they just put $40,000 of their life into this business. To protect somebody, to protect a group of people that are vulnerable, that we could all be smart about what we're doing. So I think it's important we understand that. Then he goes on to say, then you will call on me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. He's not talking to the people that don't believe in him. They're not going to understand this. This is like talking to someone that is so ignorant, right? And they just keep telling you yes or no or certain things. They're not going to get it, right? Most of the stuff in the book that we read, the Bible, is to Christians. People that have accepted Jesus Christ as their Savior. They have to be able to understand where we're going. People that come into Steelbridge have to understand the way we do it, or they're not going to change. That's why we're making changes within our own personal program. So people want to change. You will seek me and find me, and when you seek me with all your hearts, he'll start to reveal something. You know, contrary to popular belief, right? It is not something you decide to do in your life. Like, it's not all of a sudden like, I want to do this, I want to do that, right? It is that you have discovered what God has already created for you in your life. Right? You go through things in your life, and God says, here it is, and He creates those opportunities for you to go through it. You know, if you've ever been on, as a kid, you know, we just had Easter, so what did we do on Easter typically? Easter egg hunt, right? Or have you ever gone on a treasure hunt? Right? You get a list of things, and you say, okay, well, it's going to be behind the black box with a red marker on it. And then you go to the black box with a red marker on it, and you pull it up, and you see something. Like, oh, wow, this gold ring. Right? And the next clue leads you around the corner behind this tree, right? And you pull that out. Well, that's what God does to us. He leads you in this direction, and He pulls this out. And He leads you in this direction, and He pulls you out. Then you choose to go in this direction, He slaps you upside the face and says, go this direction. Right? So that's the way it works. And then ultimately, you come to the pot of gold at the end, and you find your purpose once you become obedient and you trust in what He's trying to do the whole time. Right? And then we also talk about this idea of passion. Right? And how important passion was. But we get passion so construed in the idea that it's this feeling. Right? And the feeling of what I want to do. Like, I have a passion for kids. I have a passion for this. Well, that's all great. But if you don't have the skill set to teach those kids, or the patience to deal with those kids, then it doesn't matter. I can have a passion for ministry, but the same passion for ministry can kill a ministry. Right? I might not know how to run finances. I might not know how to talk to people. I might not know how to teach the Word or stay within the Word for what's written in it. But I have a passion for ministry. So it's so important that we develop the skill set to get there. I could have a passion for somebody in our lives. Think about your first fling in your life. Yeah. Did you have a passion? Yeah, you probably did. Right? But that same passion wasn't ultimately the direction where you wanted to go. Right? That feeling, that desire. right, that comes out of the whole thing. So we need to understand that passion is not the direction. It's developing a skill set, right, and becoming a master of that skill that ultimately leads to the purpose that we have in our life. And you can use that purpose, you can use that skill, then to do whatever you need to do within your own lifestyle, right, and what you're trying to do. So develop a skill and master it. But we must also be willing to let God lead. You know, speaking for myself, I never want anybody else to lead, right? I was a track guy. I didn't go out in the back, I went out in the front. So you're going to beat me, you're going to have to beat me. And then that's just the way it worked. You're going to have to outwork me, you're going to have to do everything else beyond what I can do. A lot of people want to say, okay, well, I'm going to sit back and I'm going to outkick them, right? Or I'm going to just jog alongside of them and see if I can finish stronger than them. That might work for a little bit, but the one that goes out in the front is a trailblazer, that's a pathfinder, usually finishes at top over and over and over again. So we must be able to find those things, we must be able to work through them. We also talked about a couple ideas within the idea that when you look at Psalms 37:23, he says this, when I'm trying to find my purpose and my passion, right, there's a series of steps I have to go through, right? As it says here, the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, right? And he delighteth with his way. It says steps, plural, not step. You don't just find your direction. You don't just find your meaning with one thing. It takes multiple steps. It takes multiple falling down, multiple times of tripping to get in the direction that we're trying to go so that we can have what we want. Then we talked about this, and we ended on this thought last week. You know, when you're trying to find your meaning, you have this. What do I like to do? Right? You have to find something in yourself that you actually do have some care about. Something you like to do over and over and over again. Once you've found that thing you like to do, then you can ask yourself the question, what am I good at? Okay? I may like it, but I may not be good at it. I may like golf, but I can't swing a golf club for the sake of my life. Right? I may like to play tennis, but I can't run up and down the tennis court. You know, there's a lot of people that like music, but can't sing. A lot of people like music that can't play an instrument. But those same people that like music can be a business manager, can schedule, can coordinate the whole concerts, and be a part of the whole thing, and still be a part of something they're truly passionate about and find their skill set. So what do I like to do? What am I good at? What allows me to live out my values? This is the one I think a lot of us talk about that we get a little sidetracked. Right? Do we even know what our own internal values are? Yes, the Bible gives us our principles and our direction of where we're going. But do you know what your value is? Do you know where you draw that line in the sand and says, I'm absolutely not going to cross that, no matter what? Husband or wife, friend or best friend, this is it. I can't do that. I can't go beyond that. You have to be able to find what that is. So what do I like to do? What am I good at? What allows me to live out my values? And the last one, what can I give back? What can I give back? Because none of it matters unless we're generous. We have to be able to give stuff back. Doesn't always have to be money, right? As soon as you hear the word give, you think about cash. No. Well, to even get that cash, what did you have to give to get? You had to give time. You had to give energy to get something back. Right? Money in a lot of ways is just a tool. Some of us actually are sitting here, look, I just got a check from the government. What are you going to do with that tool that God just gave you? Created a circumstance.
You give it to God.
And I'm thinking about, what am I going to spend it on? I'm going to spend it on this. I'm going to go spend it on that. I'm going to go spend it on this. When can I even go to the bank to get it? Right? Instead of listening to the fact of, what can I do to give it? And see what He's going to do for me to bless myself. Right? Think about it. Think about what He's done to create an opportunity. Once you put all these together, remember, we've now found the sweet spot of where we're trying to go in life. So we have to find the direction. We have to know where we're going. We have to know it takes multiple steps to get in the direction of where we're trying to go. But you may be asking yourself, well, how do I do that? Well, the easiest way to do this is we have to be open to God. Remember, we said God leads our path, right? He leads the path of a good man, or a good woman, shall we say. in the direction we're trying to do. But we have to listen to him. And there's 10 ways I'm going to give you today, right, that God can speak to you and ways that he speaks to you. Because I think a lot of times as new Christians, we don't think about this. We just think, well, how do I know? How does God tell me what to do? So there's 10 ways specifically that God gives us to listen to him. The first one is in dreams, right? God speaks to us in our dreams, right? And dreams happen in 2 ways, right? Dreams are situations that he speaks to us in our dreams, and he's going to tell us something as a revelation, right? This is going to happen in our lifestyle. And if we continue to do this, this may happen. So we need to do something to stop it, right? The other thing he does is he prepares us through our dreams for things that are going to come. You know, there's a story I was hearing from a pastor that I know that was talking about a person in their church, well-to-do guy, worked on the oil fields. His wife had a dream, right? She had a dream and she said, hey babe, don't go to work today. Actually, you can go to work today, but don't climb up on the tower, because in my dream last night, I had a dream that you went up on the tower, you climbed all the way to the top, wire snapped and cut your head off. Right? So he says, oh, you're crazy. You're crazy, lady. That's just your dream. It has no effect. So he goes to work. He's at work. He's up there. He's with the foreman. He's doing his stuff. He starts to climb up the tower. He's going up the tower. Halfway up, he says, you know what? I'm not going to go any farther. Comes back down. Tells the guy, hey, man, I just don't feel comfortable going up there. I'm not going to go up there. So he says, okay. Well, this guy goes up. 10 minutes later, wire snaps. Head gets cut off. Head hits the guy that his wife had the dream on the floor. Right? So, now that's a drastic example of what can happen. But dreams give us a direction of things to go. Think about you. Some of you are sitting out there going, yep, I've had those dreams. I've had those dreams that give us the direction. I've had the dream that's telling me if I don't turn myself around, this is going to happen. Right? Some of you are sitting there saying, I don't have dreams. I'm one of them. I don't dream. Right? I go to sleep and I'm out, and I wake up the next morning and go on my run or whatever I'm going to do. But it's how does God speak to you? So one of the ways that God speaks to us is in dreams. Typically, when we're dreaming, we are sleeping. The second way God speaks to us is not in our dreams, it's through visions. The biggest difference when we look at a vision that God gives to us is that we are now awake. We go into like a trance state, we have that opportunity of what's going on. Very similar, he's giving you a direction, he's showing you something, right? And a lot of time when you look at visions, you're thinking, oh, this only happened in the Bible. Right? Because God gave us directions when he talked about in the Bible of, here, this is the way this came, or this is the way that was. Right? But typically what happens, right, is you see something. Right? So in the Bible we think of who? Daniel. Right? Daniel was given a vision, this is the direction, this is the way things go. For us, right, we see a plan that's going to be given to us in real life. Right? Peter even went to into a trance for the whole process of what he went through in a vision. Who in here has ever had a vision? Yeah, there you go. Amen. Amen. So he talks to us through dreams, he talks to us through visions. The third way is through angels.
Amen.
Right? He speaks to us through angels. I got to tell you, angels are real.
Yes, they are.
Right? If you've ever seen the postal service going down the street, it's the same thing. Right? Postman comes down, right? He's carrying a message, or she's carrying a message. Now the postman has that envelope or that package, and guess what they can't do with it? Can't open it, but they can deliver it. And they're prided on it. That's why when you get hired by the USPS, you go through a rigorous background check, they check everything about you, they know who you are, it's a federal job, you get paid well, because they're trusting you with extremely important documents. So God has these created beings. They're not born. Angels are not born, they were created. Right? A lot of times people, and I guarantee you some of you in this room, think more about demons than you do about angels. And I'm going to tell you this right now, angels are more real than demons, guys. Because God created the angels, right, to deliver the messages for us of things that are taking place in our life. We have to understand it. Right? They are supernaturally created by God to come down and deliver messages that we need to understand. Dale Bronner in Atlanta was talking about the formation of his church. The first church he went to, right, or the first campus, he was at this building, right, and he walks to the building, he's walking around the grounds, and these two white ladies come up to him. And the two white ladies are like, hey, we knew you would come, we knew you were coming here, and boom, this is going to be your land. I've given this to you. And there you go. That was the first campus he had. A couple years later, when they'd outgrown the campus, he goes back to another campus or another place. It had been a Sam's Club. It had been like a big sports warehouse place. 2 other white ladies come up to him and says, we've been saving this ground just for you because this is God's land. Both were angels. Right? Both scenarios were angels delivering a message saying, we've ordained this property, we've ordained this land for you. So one of those ways is that way. Biblically, right, we look at it, Peter's in prison, right? Angel appears to Peter in prison, right? He says, I can't get out of here, I can't leave. Again, slaps him upside the face and says, come on, come with me, right? He leaves, goes to the house, knocks on the door. What does everybody do? Right? Little girl answers the door, hey guys, Peter's here at the door. No, he's not. He's in prison, dude. He's not over there. Right?
To come back down to go get him.
Yeah. How to come to it, right? They didn't believe it because angels are real.
Hallelujah.
Even biblical characters didn't believe the process of what goes on, that God can use these messengers to give us a direction of where to go. So we have dreams, we have visions, we have angels. Then we have gifts of the Spirit, right? Gifts of the Spirit. This is one that some people, depending on what they believe and where they are, get a little confused. There are vocal gifts of the Spirit.
Amen.
Right? Speaking in tongues and the direction of where that needs to go and how we're going to listen to those things. Right? And there's revelatory gifts of the Spirit. Right? We have to understand those. 1 Corinthians gives you the directions of what those are. Go ahead and look into those. But we have to understand those. Prophecy, interpretation. God gives you these things, these gifts, to be able to understand what He's telling you to do. Right? So we have those. So we have dreams, we have visions, we have angels, we have gifts of the Spirit. God also speaks to us spirit to spirit.
Amen.
Spirit to spirit. God is a spirit.
That's right.
Have you ever been around that person that says, you know, God put it in my heart? Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's that spirit world. You know, I think about like my grandmother, my black grandmother, or you think about people in your life, or you've grown up in a church household, and you walk in, and you know, your mom looks at you, right, because you just walked in with this girl, right, that you think is the one, right, or grandma, really, it's usually not mom, it's grandma. She walks in, she sees it, and grandma just looks at you and says,
Not right.
and you know immediately it's not the right person. No one ever told her, no one's ever been there, right? But God put it in her heart to immediately understand what you were seeing. And that happens. God will just put it in you. He'll give you a direction, He'll give you an understanding, because He'll speak spirit to spirit. Okay? And as we look at these whole things, we have to understand that we are tripartite beings. Soul, right? Soul, mind, and body. He gives us these pieces of what goes into it. So He's going to give us the Spirit to understand where we are and what goes into it, because He can speak spirit to spirit. What's next? Godly counsel.
Yes, sir.
So He'll give us the idea of Spirit. He will also put people around us to give us direction. You know, even here in leadership, there's a lot of times we step into stuff, and as leaders, we have to seek godly counsel and what do you think? Because they've been through the situation. You know, one of the greatest things I heard about for me for here, right, when I listen to this and I go through certain situations, is he said, one of the godly counsels I surrounded myself with is, hey, Travis, you have to influence evolutionary change versus revolutionary change. Evolutionary change versus revolutionary change. That means you have to slow things down to allow change to take place, but things are going to change over time. Because people are people, right? You have a whole bunch of staff that aren't ready for the change. Then you got to force change. Then you got to sit back and evaluate change. Then you got to teach this one, and then you got to stop that one, right? Because you know that one, spirit to spirit, isn't right, so you got to get rid of that one.
Amen.
Right? But you have to understand the direction of where we're going and have godly counsel. You have to have solid godly counsel around you all the time.
Amen.
And then you have to be able to listen to it.
Amen.
Give you a direction of what you're trying to
That
do.
was just godly counsel for me.
Circumstances. So we have this, we have dreams, we have visions, we have angels, we have gifts of the Spirit, we have spirit to spirit, we have godly counsel, and then we have circumstances. In fact, we're living real life circumstances right now. I think God is using the experience we're in outside these walls as a circumstance to teach us as Christians, what are you going to do with it?
Hallelujah. Amen.
Right? We have places that we go in our life. Right? Things that we go to do, and He says, nope, stop, you can't do that. I think in my life, most of my decisions have been circumstantial gifts.
Hallelujah.
Right? Circumstantial gifts. Did I grow up without a dad? Yes. But what did it teach me? Right? Did it teach me how to be a better father?
Yes.
Right? Did it teach me how to get through hard times and situations that I needed to? Probably. Right? I wanted to do this. I wanted to do that. Nope. Circumstance.
Amen.
And then the door opened up for other circumstances to do great things. Because negative circumstances isn't always the direction it gives you to say, hey, you can't do that. He gives you positive circumstances.
Hallelujah.
But are we thankful and are we grateful in the direction we're going by those? So dreams, visions, angels, gifts of the Spirit, spirit to spirit, godly counsel, circumstances, and yes, guys, He speaks to you through prophets.
Hallelujah.
He still does that today.
Yes, He does.
He's going to use wise men that have the gift of God to give you the direction. Now, I'm not saying the Mormon Church prophet, right? I'm saying he has the whole process that comes into it. Right? We're not saying people that are ordained by man
Amen.
to be the counsel of other individuals. We're saying people that are ordained by God
Amen.
to be our prophets. So we need to understand the difference of that and what that's like.
His word.
The most important one, in my opinion, for us as beginning Christians and maturing Christians, is He absolutely will speak to you through His Word.
Amen.
That's why we tell you to get in your book. Right? When you open that Bible, boom, you go right there and you sit there and you should get chills when you say it. And you go to this line, you didn't even know where you're going, and He's talking to you through His Word that was created 2,000 years ago. His Word is the guidance. That's why our staff does such a good job of telling you every single day. Are you in your Word? What is He saying to you? What is He telling you? And you could be reading the same thing as she's reading, but it's telling you both two different things.
Hallelujah.
Because He speaks to you through your Word. And if this person here, this godly counsel, isn't aligning this with His Word, get rid of him.
Amen.
Because it doesn't work.
That's right.
Because it's got to come directly out of the Bible. Because if your pastor, if your godly counsel is not speaking biblically to you, then it just doesn't work, guys. Right? And then the last piece here is He'll speak to you through an audible voice. Right? So when I think about this on recent church, I'm thinking, okay, I just hear like Red Fox, right? Or I hear like
Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman speaking to you. You know, that just real strong, hello. Do not do that. The seas have parted. But it's true. He'll speak to you. Right? Have you ever heard that situation? Where He says, Travis, don't.
I heard my name.
Yes. Lupe.
Yeah.
What do you think about this? Hey, don't go there. Don't do this. That is the direction He absolutely will give us when we go through it. So when we look at this, here's the 10 ways that God will speak to you. So as you're working through this, what am I supposed to be doing? What in the world am I supposed to be doing? Well, He creates this right here. Here's your plan. Not only should be what you like and what you have and what you do, but when you pray and you listen,
Hallelujah.
don't be ignorant.
Hallelujah.
Find it. Create these. And it's not just one, it's all of them.
Amen.
If it's not a dream or a vision or an angel or a gift of the Spirit, right? Maybe it's Spirit's a spirit. You feel it in your heart. Maybe it's sitting down with Amanda as a woman and saying, hey, what do you think? And she's going to give you great godly counsel. And the answer may be no.
Amen.
And you hate it sometimes.
Yes. Circumstances, prophets, His Word, and audible voice. I want to leave you with 4 guidelines and then we'll wrap this up. As we go through all these, we need to understand that number 1, and I've said this just recently, if it's not in line with His Word, then it's not God.
Amen.
If it's not in line with His Word, it's not God. That's number 1. Number 2, it should bear witness with your spirit.
Can you
Amen.
slow down, Travis?
Yeah, it should bear witness with your spirit. So it should be of the Word, it should be in line with the Word, and it should bear witness with your spirit. It should feel right. You know, with me specifically, anytime I've ever done anything wrong, or that's not in the right place, it doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
I immediately know this isn't right. It's not okay. But a lot of times I choose to keep doing it. Because I go back to that feeling thing, and we live in our flesh.
Amen.
But if I listen to His Word, what do we not live by? We do not live by our flesh, but we live by His Word and His Spirit.
Yes, yes.
Right? So we have that peace. And this is how great He is, guys. He put it all together for us to listen. Number 3, confirmed by other Christians who don't know anything about the situation. There should be bearing of fruit that they can see things are taking place.
Yes.
They should be able to speak into your life and say, hey, I know this is happening. I have a word for you. I have this thought.
Hallelujah.
Which gives you confirmation that God is giving you the direction that He is speaking into your life. So He's confirming it. So number one, in line with His word. Number two, should bear witness with your spirit. Number three, should be confirmed by other Christians who don't know anything about the situation. And then last one, there should be revelation. Right? There should be revelation that ultimately is bringing glory to God.
God.
Not to you,
Yes.
not to anybody else. But there should be a revelation that this is all about God.
Amen.
Are you thanking Him? Are you praising Him?
Hallelujah.
Are you giving Him the gratitude that is necessary? So the guidelines to understanding these ways that God will speak to you is important for us to understand.
Spirit and truth. Spirit and truth.
God of creation, there at the start, before the beginning of time.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Thank you, Father.
With no point of reference, you spoke to the dark and fleshed out the wonders of life.
Hallelujah.
And as you speak, 100 billion galaxies are born. In the vapor of your breath, the planets form. If the stars were made to worship, so will I can see your heart in everything you made. Every burning star, a single fire of praise. If creation still obeys its so will I. So will I.
Hallelujah. Thank you, Father.
God of your promise, you don't speak in vain, no syllable empty or void. For once you have spoken, all nature and science follow the sound of your voice. And as you speak, 100 billion creatures catch your breath,
Hallelujah.
evolving in pursuit of what you said. If it all reveals your nature, so will I can see your heart in everything you say.
Hallelujah.
Every painted sky, a canvas of your grace. If creation still obeys you, so will I.
Hallelujah. Thank you, Father.
So will I. Yes, Jesus. If the stars were made to worship, so will I. If the mountains bow in reverence, so will I. If the oceans roar your greatness, so will I. And if everything exists to lift you high, so will I. If the so will I. If the rocks cry out in silence, so will I. If the sum of all your praises still falls shy, then we'll sing again 100 billion times. Yes, Jesus. God of salvation, you chased down my heart through all of my failure and pride.
Glory. Hallelujah.
Yeah, Father. Thank you, Jesus.
On a hill you created, the light of the world, abandoned in darkness to die.
Hallelujah.
And as you speak, 100 billion failures disappear.
Hallelujah.
When you lost your life so I can find it here. If you left the grave behind you, so will I. I can see your heart in everything you've done. Every part designed in the work of art called love. If you gladly choose surrender, so will I. I can see your heart a billion different ways. Every precious one, a child you died to save. If you gave your life to love him, so will I. Like you would again 100 billion times. But we'll never amount to your desire. You're the one who never leaves the one behind.